Hello, hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Elemental Growth. I'm Ashley, your host today. So this is high tea. I don't have any tea. I have water with me, but that's okay. Cheers. Got a really cool thing planned. I wanted to, oh, Dixie's here. Welcome. Oh, hey, Dixie. Nice to see you. Right. So I wanted to dive into topics on mushrooms today. I put out an article. I'm going to, sorry, I'm still kind of new to this platform. I used it before, but I think I'm going to share screen, show you what I created. If you go to the website elementalgrowth.org, scroll over to resources, scroll down, there's tons of stuff in here. I just got up this newest article, and Tristan's coming up soon to his new one. So you guys can take a look. That might be actually up by the time you guys watch this recording. So here we are. So today is all about how to connect better with the psilocybin spirit guide. And I was just speaking after a retreat that Eva Payne hosted as an integration coach and an expert in this space. And, there was loss, on grief, on death of loved ones. And, I found for myself, and, this was portrayed in that show, Nine Perfect Strangers, the new one that came out on Amazon around mushrooms. And it's that, these medicines can actually help you connect with other spirits, and also with our loved ones, and with what's in our hearts, with our own DNA. It can help us connect in so many ways. Mushrooms, mycelium is absolutely incredible. The strands that weave and hold everything together in a forest that allows messages so that the plants can communicate with each other and grow and thrive and feed the animals, and so that the plants can then communicate with the animals and provide them what it is that they need. There's a lot of really amazing benefits in here, and I wanted to show something. I lost my dad a long time ago. I was 17 when he passed away, but I didn't have the chance to really talk to him about all of these kinds of things, or experiences, though I know that he would be the right guy to talk to. I was just with my family, my brother actually, and he had a bunch of old photos, and we were looking through the bin, and I found this one, and on my dad's arm is actually a tattoo of a mushroom. I really wanted to share that with you because, for me, I felt as if I was connecting with him through these things and doing a lot of healing for myself, for my ancestors, for my son, and the generations coming beyond him. And that was a lot of validation, not only spending a lot of time with family and getting that healing in the physical world. I was doing it inside of myself all this time, but it manifested in the physical world too. And being together with so many family members, and having a really good time, being very present in the moment, and also yeah, being able to find these pictures and see that my dad was working with these things too. Like, I knew that he was in that, and I didn't get into it specifically because of him. It called me in many other ways, but probably that calling started with him and the many people in my history before him too. And this works in diet just as much as it does work with the medicines. Though, I felt really good and happy to share that with you. So get to the main reason why I'm here. I mean, you guys can dig into all this stuff anyway on your own, which is why I write it out in ways like this. I'll probably add today's video in here too. Okay, so really to start just talking about how it's been traditional medicine for millennia. Beginnings of time, some of the first religions are based off of the sacredity of nature, including mushrooms and psilocybin specifically, because it, you know, according to Terence McKenna and other people who have studied his work, you know, there's a really good chance that the reason why we would have, you know, expanded our minds the way we did from being monkeys into humans is because of these things, possibly microdosing, and it could have been at larger doses too, we don't know. But in Terence McKenna's study, it was, it would have been that for food, you know, for food sources, the monkeys were coming down into new lands, new territories, and finding these mushrooms underneath poop and eating them up. And then here we were born, a rebirth, a transformation that was documented, though it is all also theorized. Like, we don't know the truth, but when you're working with these things, it's definitely, you know, one of those beliefs that, or at least we believe that it could be believable. I'd like to think it is. So yeah, I talk a little bit about my story here, and you know, I also wanted to share too, like, some of the reasons why a lot of people today are switching over to more natural alternatives. You know, I've been talking about this stuff for a very long time, you know, even prior to the coronavirus stuff. I was being banned off of Facebook for talking about natural deodorants and some of the chemicals that were in today's products and how to escape it. Even more than that, I was teaching people how to do it for themselves. And I think a lot of the dominator culture doesn't like that today, teaching people how to be sustainable, teaching people how to do these things on their own. And it's very important. It's very important because it's less expensive. It's very important because it's more eco-friendly. It's more important because there's a soul and connection to it. It's more important because we're putting our intention into that which we're working with, and that changes everything. I also get into a little bit of myth busting here, you know, saying the psilocybin mushrooms may give users a mind melting feeling, but in fact, the drug does just the opposite. And I can use the word drug here. I know some people would say, oh, it's not a drug, it's a medicine. Yes, it is, but the word drug itself is actually means that. It means dried herb. And actually, mushrooms are considered a herb in herbology, and in the culinary field too, it can be. So psilocybin actually boosts the brain connectivity, according to an October 2014 study. Mushrooms are the true communicators of the forest, as I was mentioning, the mycelium underneath the ground connecting everything. They come in many colors, and most often the magic kinds are described as brown and blue, especially when they start bruising, then they get the blue on them. That's why sometimes by the time you get them dried, if you're ordering them from a source, that would be one of those reasons they might have bruised, which doesn't take a lot if you're working with fresh mushrooms, by the way. And this is also why when infusing honey with magic mushrooms, it turns the honey blue over a long period of time, and that's why it's called blue honey. To be honest, I haven't often let it get to that point, because you can start working with it right away, and that's often what I do. I don't wait, but you know, one day, you know, I may actually have a nice big apothecary where many of them can sit for long periods of time, because the truth is, you know, mushrooms have been found, and honey has been found too, both of them to last very long amounts of time. Mushrooms can lose their potency, but in honey will keep them to their prime state, and honey can last, yeah, I think 3 million years it was found. At least it might have even been more than that. And in tombs of ancient Egyptians. So, you know, it's been used as a medicine for a very long time, and really good preservative, because it still holds medicinal properties after that long. And we're not going to live that long, but we can prepare a legacy for our children and children of the planet by sharing these kinds of tips and information too. And, yeah, there's another thing in here too, before I just scroll over it, about Silicon Valley. You know, these in modern day ages, you know, Rolling Stone magazine was saying that Silicon Valley Silicon Valley workers were using mushrooms in microdoses, and this is where I think a lot of the microdosing stuff started. James Fadiman was great during the book on it, but I think Silicon Valley and the Rolling Stones magazine article actually made microdosing as much of a big movement as it has been, because you know, they're creating computers, and the reason why they're able to create all these programs and do all these things is because it's so much like a program like the mind, and it's so much program like nature, and everything's very much a fractal of yourself, and you can get into that flow state a lot easier working with things like psilocybin mushrooms. You know, it takes you from addiction to flow. Another article that I've written before, you can find that one on socialdelic.com or on elementalgrowth.org if you keep scrolling down to where it says psychedelic articles. Yes, so it helps in many things when it comes to cognition, but also tapping into that flow state too, and understanding and seeing how the fractal effect really is working and how patterns are unfolding. Be able to replicate that, hack it even in some ways. I also mentioned here that psilocybin mushrooms can be found all over the world. Some of these things I've taken from really popular posts that I've had on Instagram. I really wanted to include them in, and I actually wrote this one quite a while ago. There's even more species that have been found and identified since to have psilocybin in it, or be a psychedelic mushroom as a whole. But I guess it's still accurate to say there's at least 144. And so I list where they are in the world. Tristan made a really awesome video that you guys can find on YouTube that just puts it out in a cool way, inspire foraging and such things. Yeah, they literally grow everywhere in the world. You know, there's some things like ayahuasca and peyote only will grow in certain areas. And ayahuasca, for example, it takes 10 years before you can really work with that medicine after planting it. So, you know, the sustainability aspect is something we really need to consider. But when we're talking about things like cannabis or psilocybin mushrooms, even Amanita muscaria mushrooms, they grow everywhere in the world. Amanita doesn't grow everywhere in the world, but magic mushrooms as a whole grow everywhere in the world naturally. And yeah, I think there's something really special about that. It means that, you know, this really is a part of our diet as a whole, and same with cannabis. And it means for me that we've been oppressed from what it is that actually is here and growing for us to nourish us. For all these years, we've been told to be scared of it. Don't go hunting for mushrooms. It's scary out there. Well, do you know what? There's a lot of poison berries too. You see anybody stopping from eating or picking like blueberries? No, you just learn to identify it, right? So learn to identify what mushrooms you can eat and are going to be medicinal and which mushrooms aren't. Know that information. Instead, they made us scared. You don't need to know that information. Just don't touch them. Don't touch them. Bad, bad. It's like, no, it's never like that. You know, blueberries really good for you, and you know what they look like, and you have an eye for them now because they've nourished you. And that's exactly what happens when you start foraging and working with mushrooms too. It's not scary, you guys. It's okay. And there's so many plants and mushrooms available to you that are going to boost your immune system, that are going to become your food, your medicine. It's going to become your pantry. It's going to become your bathroom. It's going to become your perfume, your everything. This is it. So at high doses, that means like 2 grams or more, because some people, for me, there's no way I could do a full gram and consider that a microdose, but Tristan could, and I know other people that could too. For me, 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams, 125 milligrams, that's it. Otherwise, I gotta, take some time off work and cancel my calls for the day or something. And I don't like doing that. I work hard and I schedule everything, according to the seasons and moon cycles. Everything gets done, and I still have tons of time for for other activities and family and all that as well. Um, Still, for the sake of this article, I did say 2 grams plus, to include everyone. So this can induce mystical experiences. This can happen on a microdose. This could also happen without psychedelics at all. This could happen on coffee, which is a psychedelic. This could happen on chocolate, which is a psychedelic. This could or couldn't happen no matter what. But it's even more likely that there's going to be a really intense mystical experience at these higher doses. There's a neural response pattern and brainwave activity that are very similar compared to those who are fasting, meditating, or having other spiritual and religious experiences after a single dose. And these are often considered to be really paramount times in people's lives working with this medicine, or in any of those other types of experiences as well. And you can change them, you can integrate them even together. Fasting while working with mushrooms, fasting, work with mushrooms, then meditate. And then you're going to have a spiritual and religious experience. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote them in that order. So microdosing is often considered, 50 milligrams upwards to 250 milligrams. And this allows you to be an active participant. You can expect mood enhancements, emotional intelligence, understanding emotional intelligence, especially if you read a book on emotional intelligence. If you know what that is, you'll really see it inside of yourself, how it changes in those areas. It can decrease stress in all areas of your life, because it helps you build and break patterns and behaviors and helps you contemplate. So it can decrease the stress overall. It helps you be mindful and have peace and find that peace inside of yourself so that you can really bring it outward into the other areas of your life. You can't rely on this to be a magical pill or or tip or trick or anything like that. You really do have to do the integration work afterwards to maintain that new sense of being. However, you'll definitely experience it while going through this. So there's also, it can bring in some conversational fluidity, maybe not while you're on the experience, but following. Paul Stamets definitely talked about this, how it helped him with his stutter. He was working with really high doses. I think it was something like 17 grams, and he was in a thunderstorm. And he came out of that with speaking very clearly, even up until today. And today you can find him on TED Talks and all over the place. He's really well known in the psilocybin world, but also in the mushroom world as a whole, in the mushroom kingdom. He's very well known. It can help with anxiety, depression, PTSD. It can increase focus, productivity, increase flow states. We talked a little bit about that already. Increase creativity, helping you tap into your passions. It can help you become more clear, like crystal clear sometimes, and more connected thinking, seeing how everything's connected. And that'll help you in other areas of your life to connect even more things to itself. And it's helping us connect in our brains and in our memories as well. It can bring mindfulness. It can increase enjoyment in everyday tasks like doing dishes. I'm grateful every single time I'm doing dishes. I'm always like, thank you, dishes. And, I could hire a house cleaner. I don't do that. I do everything myself still, and I have time for it. I do a lot. And people ask me all the time, like, how do you do everything? It's the way that I organize it in alignment with nature. It leaves more room. It's beautiful and it's natural. And it's natural to have that without all the pressures. And so I just you know, tapped into these things. You can see how how I broke down a year of that journey of my life in my book, Be the Change. But I still do this today in all areas of my life, business, you know, in parenting, in cooking, in everything. It really helps just to break it down and helps you be more grateful for the task. You know, when I'm doing dishes, as I said, you know, it's like, thank you. You hold our food, you make it so that, you know, this is less of a mess than it would be without a plate. You know, there's just all of these different thoughts that come through my mind. It's not, oh man, the dishes again. It's thank you for existing dishes. And I do dishes at everybody's house because everybody appreciates it too. You know, it's, you know, just one of those things. I also love raking. I think raking is so meditative. I love doing that. Sometimes there's, yeah, again, pick up a rake. Feels good. When it comes to dosing though, trust that your vibes, they don't lie. Like, just trust the vibration that you get, trust your own intuition. The truth is that, you know, these are psychedelics, and cannabis both are the most safe substances available today, and they grow naturally. And they're even more safe than the coffee that you're drinking, than the tobacco that you're smoking. And tobacco can be a really great medicine, right? It's just the way that it's served to you today, not safe. You know, a lot of people, they're scared of Campbell frog medicine. They're like, oh my God, I'm gonna puke. I'm like, have you ever like ate at a buffet and puked? Yeah, that's right. You can puke off of food. Have you ever drank alcohol and had a hangover and puked, or drank too much and puked the same night? Yeah, like there's nothing to be scary. Like there's nothing to be scared of. It happens. The body's made for it. That's one of our elimination organs. Sometimes it's good to use it. You know, you don't want to be scared of it your whole life. You never use these parts of your body that it's made for. It's more about, you know, find what's your medicine and work with it, or listen to your own voice, what's calling you, what doses are calling you, what do you actually want to do, you as a person, as an individual, not what everybody else says to do, not what's talked about. You, like, what's your heart telling you with the collective information that you have at this point in time? You know, it may be limited, but experience is going to add to that, you know, and we're always limited to what information we have at the time, but then we grow and expand with experience, and then we have even more, but we're still limited because we're still living, and there's more and more to get. You know, that's why we don't have to hang on to these fears or ideas, because there's so much more beyond it, you know, and life is worth living. So I talk here, I just show you a little bit of like how far back things go. You know, it really is worth this read if you can head over there. I also talk about some of the factors that will affect a psychedelic trip. The biggest one, of course, in my space would be the integration. You know, it's like a psychedelic experience is like a birth. If there's, you know, any parents on here, and you, or, you know, even people in general that may have experienced a birth in their life or given birth themselves, you know, there's all this hype around the actual birthing experience, which lasts what, you know, 24 hours, less on average, you know, more for some people, but, you know, that's like a 1 day thing. You know, for oftentimes, I think the average is around the same as a psychedelic trip, like 9 hours, I think, is the average for birth, and 6 hours is average for a psychedelic experience on average. And so, you know, it's a lot of hype and build up for the actual experience, and people get scared of that and everything, but it's what comes after that's most important. It's those years that you're breastfeeding, it's those years that you're raising your kid, it's those high school years when you're learning who they are as a person, and then it's those all those years beyond that when you actually become an elder yourself, because you're a grandparent. You know, it's the journey never ends, and it's that it's learning the messages and how to integrate them into your life. So the ceremony isn't the only important part. It's that you can learn how to be in ceremony every day of your life through intentional and mindful living, and actually enjoy it and get the most out of it, and do your work that's here to do. The mushrooms are great at showing you what work is yours to do. The integration process is your time to actually do that work. I mentioned a little bit on bad trips here. We've talked about that kind of stuff before. If you've got a bad trip that you want to discuss, definitely reach out to me. You know, I can walk you through that and what the integration process may look like around your specific experience. And you know, we also have our integration collective available on Signal Group, so get in there if there's, you know, if you're scared of having a bad trip or want to know somebody's story of what that looks like or how they made the most out of it. If you want to talk about your trip, you know, maybe it's a really amazing one. We have a lot of those. A lot of people talk about that. Not so many people talk about the bad trips or their fears around bad trips, but it would be a really safe environment for you to do that. Maybe the best one out there, because there's a lot of people with experiences, both positive and negative, that can help you navigate those realms. Final thoughts here. Yeah, because I guess we are at time. Went over time. That's okay. I enjoy spending my time with you guys. So yes, for me, even in my journey too, it has been scary. You know, I've had those bad trips. Even I've been working with mushrooms for 18 years now. Okay, and I've had those crazy bad times. Many of my trips, most of my trips, I've gone to hell before heaven. Gone to hell because my body feels all weird and because I'm resisting. Gone to hell because I've had traumas I've had to work through. Gone to hell because I was an alcoholic working with these things until I got sober 7 years ago now, which is like crazy. 2014, I was 25. So it might have even been longer than that now, but yeah. You know, I had demons that I had to get out of me, and that was like really those fears. And once they were out, you know, I was able to handle those bad trips a lot better, handle the transition going from hell to heaven, making the decision that I no longer want to be in hell, but I want to create heaven. I want to be in heaven and possibly even Eden on top of everything else. Not possibly, that really is the goal, recreate Eden. You know, that's the goal of pretty much why I'm here as a coach. Like, coaching is my passion. Talking to people one-on-one, like, that is a passion of mine, and my passion earns me a really good income. And well, like, maybe it's not good to some people, but it's definitely more than enough for me and the way that I live my life. And I'm a pretty happy person. So, you know, I do well off of my passion, but my actual purpose here on earth, what I believe is my purpose, what the mushrooms have showed me and been guiding me to do all these years, like the reason why I'm still alive and didn't die with my crazy lifestyle and some of the things I've done in my past, this is the reason why I'm still here, and that's to create Eden. Maybe not what's biblically in the Bible, but the reason I call it Eden is I was raised Catholic, so that's how it's still in my mind. That being said, I'm not very Christian and I don't believe in all of those things. What I do believe is that this earth is a garden, is a big, beautiful, abundant garden, and that I have a connection to that, a very unique and special one. And that psychedelics and permaculture, beautiful model is permaculture. And you guys can look that up if you're gardening this year. It's amazing. It's everything together, not what we have today with monoculture and agriculture and all that. This is what a model of what the forest still does, the bits of it that we have left, the bits of it that have survived, and the bits of it that have thrived through all the through us being the mold on the sandwich, essentially. And I believe that back in the day, permaculture, of the model of the forest, and psychedelics grew as one. And to me, that's what Eden means to me, is permaculture and psychedelics together as one, growing in harmony all over the world. You know, I love that in our network, we have people all over the world working with psychedelic mushrooms and other plants and frogs and toads and all of these amazing things, because it is an Eden, and it's not only my job to do it. It's like I'm connecting with the other people who are called to do aspects of that, and it took a lot of the pressure off of me. You know, for a while there, I felt, you know, a lot of weight that I had to do all the work myself, and then, you know, I kind of laughed it off in an experience. It was like, that is the hell, having that weight on your shoulders. I made the decision to laugh it off, to shake it off, to work with my body and move my body to get it out of me, to loosen that load, to just shake it off and release and surrender. And it's like when I was backpacking and I took off the backpack, and it's like, oh yeah, that feels good. You know, it was that's what the psychedelic trip was for me. And I came out the other side, and, you know, next thing you know, I'm building a network and I'm bringing everybody together, everybody I've talked to over the years, and I'm saying, getting them all in one room, and I'm seeing how, you know, how everyone is doing these things already, everyone that is in my circle anyway. And I didn't have that before. That was something I created, inspired, like, and I just did the action steps, the work, you know, and it wasn't even a lot. And now I see how Eden is being recreated here. How, you know, there's more people that not only are speaking about these and doing their own work in the world, but that it still is contributing to the bigger picture, and that we've all been called collectively as gatekeepers of this planet to be doing some sort of work, and that we are all contributing in our own way, and it all does come together, and it's all here in this dynamic time. We're here at this dynamic time for a reason, a really good one. And these are just some ways you can connect with the psilocybin spirit and some of the messages that have come through to me. I really encourage you, head over here, check this out. You know, we'll probably, you know, maybe even Julian will come on and start doing some, turning them into audios. I know you guys like the video versions more. So we'll figure out some ways to get all of this out in digestible, easy bite-sized pieces for you guys, so you make the most out of connecting with the psilocybin spirit guide yourself. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really looking forward to spending the rest of the spring season with you in this way. You guys can catch Tristan tonight live at 5. He's going to be doing some Reiki teachings for you as well. Right. Goodbye for now. Love you all.